I feel a little bit like a waiter who comes up to a table of four bubbies and asks, "Is anything okay?" And then they start railing away and they're like, "Oh, my cousin Harry in Boca, they have a restaurant," and another one's complaining here and another one's complaining there. And then I go, "Would you like to order?" That's the feeling I have, because there's a lot that's not okay right now, especially for Jews, right? Is anything okay anywhere in the world for Jews? Add that to the natural human difficulties and challenges and darkness that affects us regularly during the year on the high holy days when we ask, "Is anything okay?" It only increases the challenges that we face right now. The Jewish community is very divided. We are divided about the way that Israel is waging war in Gaza, the status of humanitarian aid, settler violence in the West Bank, and now the announcement of Palestinian statehood. We are divided about our country's anti-Semitism and how we're divided about how to fight it and the way the government is handling the rights of U.S. citizens in all of these areas. And obviously, I could go on and on and on. The question becomes, how do we, as American Jews, speak about these divides with each other? How do we deal with these conflicts? Sandra Lilienthal identifies this in an article in the Times of Israel, where she writes, quote, "We can pretend that the divide isn't there, but that pretense will neither address it nor begin to heal it. Naming these disagreements is an act of intellectual and emotional stewardship. It signals respect for the diversity of beliefs within our Jewish community." For me, diversity of beliefs has always been a hallmark of Jewish discourse. All of our ancient literature is about having conversations, many times with disparate beliefs, in order to find solutions to halachic, social, and behavioral questions. It is a sign of a healthy community. And in our modern age, a democratic necessity that even though we disagree, we can still engage with each other and live in peace with each other. That whole concept doesn't seem to exist anymore. It seems rare these days to hear healthy conversations of disagreement. They may begin that way, but they quickly disintegrate into accusations and name-calling and the dehumanization of the other. In commentary editions to the Mishnah, called the Tosefta, we read, "Make for yourself a heart of many rooms, and enter into it the words of Beit Shammai and the words of Beit Hillel, the words of those who declare a matter impure and those who declare it pure." Shammai and Hillel being examples of people that schools of thought that absolutely never agreed, and yet they kept a healthy relationship. In fact, it was so healthy, there's a lot of talk about that a lot of the people intermarried between the houses of Shammai and the houses of Hillel, even though they disagreed on everything. Lilienthal points out that many of us, with all that's happening in the world right now, have rooms in our heart that are labeled sadness, anger, rooms that are labeled disappointment, and a room labeled numbness. Many of our hearts are as broken as the broken shvarim blasts on the shofar. I do feel those rooms I just mentioned in my heart. But really, it is possible to fit as many rooms as I want or need in my heart, because the way I'm talking about it, this symbolic heart represents really just those things that affect us emotionally. So opening the door to the rooms in your heart is, I don't know, a way to be curious about the variety of emotions that you experience in your life. In some ways, you choose to live when you experience fully and investigate why and what you're feeling at any given moment. The second part of the phrase about Shammai and Hillel, I think, suggests that in our hearts and in these rooms, it is a necessity to keep opposing views in your awareness and in your heart. I can carry sadness and anger. I can also carry laughter and joy. I can hold a room for disappointment and have a room with satisfaction. There can be a room of numbness and another room for emotion and release. If we can keep the entire spectrum of our lives like rooms in our heart, then we can, at one time, have a room of compassion and brokenness for the destruction and death happening to the Palestinians in Gaza, and yet have a room that is anxious and concerned and heartbroken for the trauma and the threat that Israelis are living through. I call heaven and earth to witness upon you on this day that I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore, choose life so that your children will live. Choose life. That's really what we're tasked to do on these high holy days. In fact, for years in the Reform movement, that section of Deuteronomy 30:19 was read on Yom Kippur every year. Dr. Louis Barth of Hebrew Union College comments, quote, "Because we have the mitzvah to choose life within ourselves as part of our being, it shapes our capacity to overcome shame and adversity and push on, renewed for the year ahead." That's our purpose in these 10 days together, to help ourselves overcome the helplessness these feelings can have on us. Open up our hearts to as many rooms as it can hold and renew ourselves for the new year. Pardon me. In the first 4 or 5 versions of this speech, can't remember, I spent thousands of words on everything that all of us can read about in the newspapers, online and social media, see on TV, that makes us feel, is anything okay? That act, I think, closed off rooms in my heart. And also, I realize that many of you, if not all of you, have probably seen the same articles and memes and quotes and videos. I don't know, I'm not an algorithm designer, but we've all read the same stuff and we all hear the same news. I felt that by doing that, I was just adding to the noise that I hear every day. This is Rosh Hashanah. I am speaking as a rabbi in a Jewish congregation. It can't be just that noise. So coming together after this particular past year, I felt like this space needed to be a space where our Jewish spiritual life could serve who we are when we're not in this place together. What words or ideas from our Jewish tradition can help us that I won't find on Facebook or Instagram? or TikTok. So we've just received the first. Make for yourself a heart of many, many rooms. When I was looking through commentaries and interpretations of our themes verses in Deuteronomy, I came across this perspective from Rabbi Yitz Greenberg. People must size up every situation before acting. Ascertain the mix of good and evil and shape the act to maximize elements of life and minimize elements of death. For Rabbi Greenberg, every action we take in our lives, from speaking to praying to doing business, can all be opportunities to maximize elements of life in the world. That's what it means to choose life, to choose to live. Some examples might include, actually, our synagogue during the pandemic. We decided for 2 years, if you remember, to keep our services virtual because we knew that gatherings as large as this were actually super spreader events. If we did meet in person, it would have been like choosing death or maximizing elements of death. But instead, we maximize elements of life by remaining at home, being separate from each other, and everyone being safe. Other examples, driving. The moment we get into the car, we maximize elements of life by doing what? Putting on our seatbelt. It's such a simple thing, we don't really think about it, but we are absolutely maximizing the element of life by doing that. If you drive a gas-powered car, I don't want to make anyone guilty, but you can reduce your carbon footprint by either using mass transit, God forbid, or driving in an electric car. All examples of leaning into life are like in business, having concern for the quality of life for the people that work for you, or creating high quality products that actually enhance our lives, or finding sustainable ways to achieve the same goals. All of those can lead to an improvement of life, and it increases the odds that others will choose life because their lives have been enriched. Finally, especially during this era, the way we interact with each other verbally and in writing, especially on social media, is an opportunity to maximize elements of life in order to choose life for ourselves and others. Rabbi Greenberg puts it beautifully. Quote, "The words I speak to a fellow human being can be respectful, treating them as an image of God and therefore of equal value, increasing or enhancing their life. The words could also be words of denigration and hatred which make others feel unequal or unwanted, reducing their life and mine. My words have the ultimate power to make others feel loved and encouraged and to embrace life and do good. But when I talk trivially or speak platitudes, I have chosen death for the listeners whose lifetime is used up with no gain or worthwhile outcome for either of us." What intrigues me, I think, about this idea that life, death, blessing, and curse can always be in the choices that we make at every moment, or that every decision we make in our lives can either be to maximize elements of life or to minimize or maximize elements of death, is that it's happening, whether we're conscious of it or not. Maimonides wrote about choose to live. The undoubted truth of the matter is that people have full sway over their actions. If they wish to do a thing, they do it. If they do not wish to do it, they need not, without any external compulsion controlling them. I believe choose life is one of those core tenets in the Torah and Judaism. It's up there with love your neighbor as yourself and the Shema. I say that because it is one of those verses in the Torah that is an ever-shifting idea depending upon the circumstances and the contemporary moment in history. Each change in our understanding can lead to open more doors in your heart. The meaning of these texts, the meaning of our Jewish rituals change as we live with our experiences and with the events of every day. And when the events of every day are incredibly overwhelming and there is this uncertainty in our beings, this teaching that life and death and blessing and curse are always within our reach from moment to moment, and our choice can either enhance life or death through our actions, puts our future right on us. We control what we do with what is put in front of us in our lives. We live our lives carrying our experiences with us, and that is the way we have learned to live in the world, and that past leads to the rooms that we have in our hearts right at this moment. And we also feel the way we do and do what we do because we carry also the responsibility to ensure that the next generation is able to choose life for themselves. I believe in the end, the only way to ensure that you personally or I personally attempt to choose life in our endeavors, it has to happen in this now. In the present, in this present, and then in a moment, that present, and then in another moment, that present. When the answer to the question, is anything okay? No. Remaining present in your life, in each moment, with your friends, with work, with your family, with volunteering, with eating, it could be a key to maximizing the element of life, a way to choose to live and clear our hearts so that when we disagree, it doesn't weigh so much upon our heart. That's why our anthem this year is choose to live with the past for the future and choose to live in the present for, and I added this part because I feel this is all to say, that life itself is the present. Ken Yiratzon. Amen.